About 10 years ago at university, I took a design drawing class. I learned a lot, but it was possibly the most infuriating class I've ever taken. We drew the same piece of styrofoam over and over and over again. We were all so sick of our pieces of styrofoam by the end of the class that we debated having a burning party for them, but decided that might be bad for our lungs and the environment. I bring this up because, amusingly for today's prompt of 3D, my first thought was to do a 2D drawing. There's something very satisfying about doing isometric drawings, which is what these are. We're looking at these in an isometric view. For example, here's a very rough isometric drawing of the inside of a building. You can see here's the walkway, a railing around an opening to the floor below, some overhangs. So today I want to do that. Let's make a rough isometric drawing of a building. More specifically, I want to make one of a museum. I found this floor plan of a museum online that I like, but I do want to make a few changes to the shape of it. I think it'd be nice if the entryway is indented a bit, then we have some room for maybe some trees and flowers and bushes. I also like the idea of a courtyard, perhaps in this area, and a tower over here. To make it easier to see my plan, here's some tracing paper, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a very see-through paper that you can put over another image to trace it, and we'll trace our new design onto that. I plan to someday build this in Minecraft, and I'm not the best at getting large projects done in Minecraft, so maybe we make it slightly smaller and put gardens along the side as well. Now that I've got a rough idea of what I'm doing, I want to translate this plan over to an actual grid system so I can plot things out accurately in the final drawing. I was thinking about this thing in Minecraft blocks and decided to make each square worth 2 blocks, because I do want this to be rather large, and I need enough space on the page to actually draw out the whole thing. Alright, I think I need to mess around with this a little bit, and then we can actually start working on the isometric drawing. Hello, cat. It's been quite a while since I've done any isometric drawings, so I'm trying to remember the process. Looking at my old drawing again, it seems like this angle right here might be a 60-degree angle. I found these triangles in my old drawing stuff, and this one that I would guess is a 30, 60, 90 triangle lines up perfectly with that and that. So I think the process is a line straight up, and then it goes 60 degrees out to each side. We can use this triangle as a straight edge. I also found some drawing pencils of various hardnesses, so I grabbed out a harder pencil than my normal one. The harder a pencil's lead, the lighter the lines will be, so it's going to be perfect for making some very faint guidelines. We can make those lines darker with our regular pencil later. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and speed this part up because, well, I'm most of the way through this project, and I have just realized that I completely messed up the scale. Because I halved everything in my initial drawing, but I did not have the heights of things. So everything looks really, really small, because it's really tall in comparison to, like, the width. So I think it's back to the drawing board. I'm just going to do it again. Oh, well, that's okay. We'll do it correctly this time, hopefully. Maybe I can center it a bit better this time, too. Okay, we're working on the actual final drawing now. The process is a lot of back and forth with using the ruler to get the lengths I want based on my diagram, and then using the triangle tool to get our angles right. I remember in that drawing class that we could use tools to make guidelines, but we were expected to draw all our final lines by hand without a straight edge. We did nothing that first week of class but draw lines. I mean, I got really good at drawing a straight line by hand, I will say that. I'm not a big fan of the dimensions on the tower. I think I want it to be more square and feel narrower and taller. Let's pull the building in a bit on the side. Maybe we can just make the peak of the roof where the wall is on that side and pull the whole tower in to make it more square. It's interesting how changing the proportions of something, even shrinking it in one direction, can make it feel bigger in the other direction. So we're making this smaller with the goal of making it feel taller. I think we could actually go a little taller though. Alright, we've got our base shape, so now we can move on to adding details. I want to garden out the side here, and then I want stairs in the front. It's a museum, so I think stone banisters along the sides would fit the style really well. Some trees and flowers. And of course doors and big windows to let in a lot of light into the entry hall. I want to go for a Gothic sort of look for the building. I went to the University of Washington for a couple years where there's a lot of collegiate Gothic architecture, and I've really liked that style ever since. At a certain point here, I switched over to sitting in front of my computer so that I could look at reference images. A common theme I noticed with the reference images I was looking at were archways, many differently shaped windows, and lots of details and texture. The actual walls can be rather flat, but they have a lot of rough brick texture, bits that stick out and look structural, molding around the edges of things, or lines in the walls that stick out to break up the large flat areas. The tops of spires and towers were sharp and pointed and detailed as well. I opted to not measure out all the little details I added, instead going for hand drawing and estimating where things should go. It gives it character. I figured this whole thing is built in a Gothic style, but the museum is actually modern, so I added a couple of air conditioning units to the roof. A lot of the detail phase was me looking at the drawing and thinking, oh, it needs more detail in certain spots, and then looking through reference images to see what I might put in that spot. Of course, if we're going Gothic, I tend to think of churches as well, and big round stained glass windows, so we'll do that on one side. Adding a frame along just one edge of the windows helps to make them feel inset and gives everything more depth. I wanted gardens along the side, and I decided a little lake in the middle would be fun. This is really going to be more of a museum and botanical gardens than just a museum. We'll add a bit more light with some skylights. fill in the window panes on the domed conservatory. A few little extra tweaks. And we're done. What do you think? It was fun getting back into a kind of drawing I haven't done in years. There's something satisfying about measuring things out piece by piece and connecting all those dots to give something form. My eventual plan is to build this museum in Minecraft, so if you want to watch that process, I'll leave a link to my other channel in the description. I'm hoping to have more time to work on that once Artgust is over. Speaking of Artgust, if you want to follow along and make things based on the same list of prompts I'm using, you're welcome to. You can use this as an excuse to practice drawing every day, or just pick a few prompts that interest you and work on those. Whatever you'd like to do. Just be sure to tag things #Artgust so we can all share what we're working on with each other. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Bye! Apparently it's her ruler now.